and welcome to another great episode of You Didn't Get the Memo. I'm your host, Gloria Bailey Ray, and I'm excited that you guys decided to join us. Look, as always, we have a fantastic show, but let me just tell you a little bit about You Didn't Get the Memo. For those of you that are new to watching this show, You Didn't Get the Memo is about providing you, the viewer, with relevant, factual, mainstream information to help you be informed and to make informed decisions. I want to remind you that if you have a question for our guest today, you can place it in the comment section and we will do our very best to get to you and to answer that. All right. So let me just tell you that today we have with us in the studio Mr. Chris Shelton, who is the Director of Operations and Fund Development for the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center. Now, Mr. Chris Shelton is going to be discussing the impact that community centers have on the community. And look, y'all, I just tell you, we are here because we want to elevate and educate knowledge around, what's happening in your community. Community centers are the hubs for social services provisions and community capacity building. Community centers provide a safe, trusting, and welcoming space for people who are socially isolated in some cases, vulnerable, and in need of support when there are no criteria. Community centers also promote social justice principles in inclusion. So the centers also provide a space where people can learn, they can participate, they can contribute, and this has a sense of belonging and improved well-being. So I just ask that you guys loosen up. Hey, let's learn something today from Mr. Chris Shelton. I'm excited to welcome him to the show. Mr. Chris Shelton, welcome. So happy to have you.
Thank you. So glad to be here, Gloria. We talked a little bit. I feel like you kind of like my sister. So I am just happy to be here and humbled. Honored to represent Booker T. Washington Community Center.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know what? I believe in just jumping right in. And I'm going to start with, first of all, let's give our viewers your backstory. Tell us a little bit about who Chris Shelton is and what's your educational, because I always love for people to see you may have an education in one particular area, but how you can transition and use that knowledge to do so many other things. So take it away.
Well, I appreciate that. First of all, I'm a man of God, that's for sure. But as far as my background, though, I went to Ball State University in Terre Haute, Indiana, where I was born. My parents, Carolyn and Leroy Shelton, were entrepreneurs in their self, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But I also went to the University of Tulsa, where I was a graduate assistant basketball coach and was able to obtain my master's degree. From there, I spent 25 years in the pharmaceutical industry. And I know, Gloria, you and I have some common threads there. But I think that myself, and I know that there's some other questions that are coming, and how did I get into, the nonprofit world? But I think that there's a lot of similarities, and just from my upbringing on what I wanted to do to give back to the community. But my background was a basketball coach, and then from there, I went to the pharmaceutical industry, spent 25 years there working for some great companies like Eli Lilly and Company and J&J, and really kind of molded me to where I feel like I could run a business if I needed to. So Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Let's just lead into what you were saying. What inspired you to come to Booker T. Washington Community Service Center? Especially because it's a nonprofit. You worked in a for-profit world for so many years. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that 26 years in the industry, and I think you know how it goes, where I was moving from one company to another company, and the travel just got to be so much to where it's like, what else can I do? With the energy that I have and the passion that I have for pharmaceuticals, what could I do to bring something to the community, right? So how can Chris give back to the community? And I think about there was a college course that we partnered with the University of San Francisco, and it was about servant leadership. And it's like, what really made you get into nonprofit? What really made you, get back into, wanting to help the community? And I reflect on my mom and dad, right? So it made me think about it because ever since I was born, I had seen my mom and dad get up every morning and do hair. My mom was a cosmetologist instructor, and my dad was a barber. But not only was he a barber, and not only was my mom a cosmetologist, they were also servants of God. Right. So I look at that and I reflect and I go, God put me in this place for a reason. And that's why I'm here. So if I look back, I was like, well, pharmaceutical, now nonprofit. There's also some similarities. The ED that brought me here was like, well, Chris, with your personality and your charisma, I think that you could help me diversify the funds. Right. Because as we know, nonprofits don't make a lot of money. But right. How can you help us bring money into the center?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And look, let me just say, shout out to you for just saying, first of all, being a man of God, because I'm right there with you. To me, nothing is possible without having, that faith. And I know for me, being raised in the South, that's one of the things that is paramount in my life and what has brought me to where I am at this particular point. So thank you so much for saying that. And, we look back at our parents and what they have given us and how they have given to us. And I mean, I don't even have enough words. Just saying thank you, it's not enough. So, So that's the thing. But you know what? Let's talk about your role. Your role at Booker T. Washington Community Service Center is that of Director of Operations, but also you wear another hat as that of fund developer too. So tell us what you do. Start off as your role as the Director of Operations.
Absolutely. Well, again, Gloria, thank you for asking. I think that anybody in the nonprofit space knows that you wear many hats, so being the Director of Operations has a lot of different facets. So I'm the facilities manager, right? So I have to make sure that the toilets are flushing correct, the lights are on, utilities are paid. I manage the staff. And as we know, staff can sometimes be a handful, but with my leadership skills, again, from the pharmaceutical industry, I think have paid dividends. Also, we have a 70,000 square foot facility. It's huge, state of the art. It's a $1.4 million facility. So there's a lot that goes on from the operations standpoint, from bringing in new vendors, doing background checks and things of that nature. So it's a lot, to be the Director of Operations, but I love it. I have passion for it. And I know that you said earlier, Gloria, about the fund development. I don't know if you want me to get into that right now, but I'll just keep going.
Yeah, keep going. You're good. Talk about it. Cover
it. So with fund development, I mean, it was something that the previous ED brought me in to do. And, from my pharmaceutical industry, speaking with C-suite, developing contracts and doing things like that, it's like, how do we get into the fundraising to diversify our funds? A lot of our funds that we get from the city are restricted. I thank God for the San Francisco city who gives us almost 50% of our budget. However, with me talking to foundations and the Wells Fargos of the company and the Kaisers, the Warrior Foundation, these people have really said, hey, what can I do to help Booker T make it to the next 100 years? We did celebrate 100 years this year. So, reaching out to fund and individual donors that have the same mission that we have. And I know Gloria mentioned it earlier that, we're looking at people who are low disparity, but how can we inspire them and empower them and nurture the next generation of, and I want to say not just Black, anyone, because our doors are open. But fund development is fun. It's hard because you got to do the research. Every grant is not a good grant because they maybe want a little bit more back than what you can actually give. So I make sure that I'm doing my homework to make sure that, let's say the Warrior Foundation, one of their mission is to, foster kids, right? Grades K through 8, to making sure that, social equality and social justice for just that group is met. Well, we do that. So we're aligned. And so it's a lot of work, but, I raised over $200,000 last year for the organization, and I'm very proud of that. And with some of the relationships I have in fundraising, now they're coming back and say, hey, Chris, would you like to, apply for another grant? And if you're a fund development person, that's music to your ears.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, look, we're going to just take a quick break. And what I'm going to ask that you do, Chris, is when you come back, you just touched on it, but the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center, you just talked about that they just celebrated 100 years.
Yeah.
So when we come back, let's talk a little bit about the history because it's rich. And I want our people and people watching, people of color to understand this is right here in your backyard. And you need to know what it is that the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center does. So guys, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
Because the fight isn't over yet.
You will see me choose to protect my community by wearing a face cover.
And even with my face covered,
you will see me.
As a son.
As a man with a never quit attitude.
As a fighter for change.
Join me in wearing a face cover.
To help stop the spread of the coronavirus.
Because this is one small act of kindness
that has the power to make a big difference.
Hi, if you're just tuning in, you are watching You Didn't Get the Memo with me, your host, Gloria Bailey Ray. And our guest today is Mr. Chris Shelton, who is the Director of Operations and Fund Development at the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center. Before we went to break, I had asked Chris if he would talk about the history behind the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center. They just celebrated 100 years. I mean, think about it, 100 years. And so, Chris, tell us a little bit about, the Community Service Center and the importance, the significance behind that name, Booker T. Washington.
Well, I mean, thank you for asking that question. I think that it's important to know where you're working at, and who's the building actually named after. Well, I mean, Booker T. Washington was born in 1856 as a slave. And, he worked as a laborer, as a servant throughout his childhood, and managed to attend schools, virtually attending Hampton University. So I know I have a lot of fraternity brothers out there. I'll shout them out. Kappa Alpha Psi Incorporated went to Hampton. So, and then after that, he went on to establish Tuskegee Institute. So this man's got a lot of rich, he also even served on 2 presidents' boards. I mean, just helping them kind of mend the fences with African Americans. But as I said before, Gloria, Booker T. Washington in San Francisco, the Fillmo, if you want to call it, celebrated 100 years of excellence, of serving the community, which kind of gives me, tingles knowing that Booker T. Washington has been here for 100 years. How it started. In 1919, Booker T. Washington Community Center was a USO that served several African-American troops during World War I. So, and that's when kind of started the legacy. The Victory Club was established, in 1920. Think about it. Social events, activities, services for African-American soldiers, as well as other soldiers. So it wasn't just closed to African-Americans. Booker T welcomed everybody into his center, and that's what started it. So at the end of World War I, the staff left the community center, and Booker T. Washington Community Service Center was opened in 1920. And again, it was all about promoting self-determination, self-improvement, and helping one's community. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention a few names that have made that happen. One is a lady named Mrs. Mary McCant. She was the board president. And if you read our 100-year book, you'll understand the burning of the mortgage and things of that. I mean, just really rich stuff. Also, Toshi Koba. This was the lady in the green suit, spent 25 years here at Booker T. Washington Community Center as the executive director. James Stratton is another name. And the one other person that I will name is a lady named Pat Scott. Pat Scott was here for quite some time. And when she was here, that's when the finances and everything started to get, really in place to where Booker T is financially healthy. But I know you're going to ask me later how you can help. And I'll give you that because we've all been crippled by COVID. But that just gives you a little bit about the history. I mean, our mission is to support and maintain a vibrant community, especially with our low disparity people.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, it is, oh my gosh, the building is beautiful. It's gorgeous. So if people and I had an opportunity to walk through it. And that would have been great. We have video to show, but there are so many aspects to the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center, and it is a beautiful place. So for those of you who are in San Fran, look, check out what's right there under your nose, right? Yeah. But you know what, Chris, one of the things, in addition to the history and all of this, let's talk about the culture, because to me, culture is important. So tell us about the culture that has been embraced and that's actually being supported at the Booker T. Washington Community Center.
Well, I think that, just being around for 100 years, Gloria, says a lot about your culture, right? But we also have several other community Black-led organizations that try to have that culture together. So we do a lot of things in the Fillmore to where we have several community partners that share our vision, share our passion. And then we also have a lot of needs within the community. So the culture is a culture of where if someone is in need, we're going to find out a way to help them out. And by providing wraparound services, plus to name a few centers, talk about our new family stabilization program. And I don't know if you want me to get into the different programs. I know that might be later in the show, but I think the culture is definitely rich here at Booker T, and it remains rich just because our tagline is to nurture, inspire, and to empower the community.
Yeah. And I do think that probably at this point, it would be good to talk, we can at least get into talking about some of the services. When you talk about wraparound services, for people who are wondering, okay, what does that mean? But the center provides so much to so many people. So just jump right in and talk about what are some of the services that Booker T. Washington Community Service Center provides there.
Absolutely. And I think I'm so proud of our staff and our board of directors as well, because we haven't missed a beat, right? I mean, COVID hit March 16th and we were back in the space in April of the 2nd. So we have the community learning hubs. This is something that the mayor, one of her initiatives that we had to where learning loss is serious, especially now with our young babies, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
We have community learning hubs that are here to where we have 3 different cohorts, right? So we have about 30 kids that are in the space right now to where learning loss, of course, we try to keep at a minimum. We also have our teens and our TAYS program.
Talk about that. Yes, talk about it.
So we have our teens program, but one of the things that is very unique about our building, I said it was 70,000 square feet, right? We have 50 units of housing, low-income housing. 20 units are for low-income housing, which is right in the alignment with what the mayor's initiative is. And we also have 25 units for our TAY. You might be saying, what is TAY? It's our transitional aged youth. These are youth that are fostering out of foster care, transitioning out of foster care, and need a lot of help, need a lot of love, need a lot of mental stability and things of that nature. And we're able to provide that for them. Right? Our family stabilization program, brand new to Booker T, because when you think about Booker T. Washington Community Service Center. Well, we've been a community center, but we were missing the service piece. And now we have the service piece. The service piece allows us to think about homeless is big in San Francisco and throughout the world for that matter. But we are able to provide these families with resources before they go homeless. And that's been just great because it also serves our transitional aged youth. And that takes me into our next program, which is our senior wellness program. We call it the Victory Club program. And we have all kinds of programs for them. Social isolation, especially in the time of COVID, has been huge, but we have stepped up. Our senior site coordinator has done a great job of making sure that they have laptops and internet services. And I would like to say that the city has rallied around that by providing our seniors with the laptops and internet service that they couldn't afford. And with the work that we have done at Booker T, we have a COVID response coordinator. And this person has just went just haywire with trying to educate the Black community around COVID and the injections, that it's safe. also making sure that there's testing available all the time, as well as vaccinations. So, and then the other one was, I think we had a mural project. That mural project, I wish we had a picture to show you, but that involved the whole community. And it was called Paint the Void that you have in your life, the void that you've missed during COVID, right? Now we have the community coming together, and it was kind of healing because they painted different things on 5 billboards that are outside our community center right now. And it was all themed around 100 years, right? And then also our theme that we continue to brand, which is nurture, inspire, and empower the community. So we have several verticals that are here. You know, we also have a podcast center, which my vision is to lift every voice, right? Every voice, everybody has a voice. Why not come to the community center and let your voice be heard through our podcast? We have a recording studio. Same thing. Kids want to rap. They want to do whatever. We have a recording studio and have someone that will come into our place and show you how to make music. We have an NBA gym as well. So our facility is great, but as far as our programs and the resources that we have been outstanding. We also feed the community 5 days a week. We partner with Data Means on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, we have Project Open Hands that comes in and feeds the community. Marin Food Bank, who's been a staple in the San Francisco for forever. And then we also have Queen Ada on Friday. So luckily, I'm not coming out of my suit right now, Gloria, because you ain't gonna be hungry coming here at Booker T.
I love it. I love it. And this is why I wanted to talk with you and have you on the show to talk about community centers. You know, one of the things is I hear people saying, you know, I don't have anything to do. You know, I'm stuck at home. And I'm thinking, hey, if you are retired or if you're just transitioning from, okay, so you may have got downsized or whatever, but service, you know, and I see that behind you, you have a quote by Muhammad Ali: service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. That's deep in itself.
Isn't it?
That's deep in itself. And I think that that's one of the things, that one critical piece that's missing in a lot of communities. It is missing the fact that we need servant. We need servants. And that's what is really important. And I just want to, again, encourage people. This is about inspiring. You know, I know that there are other things. I tell people, oh, yeah, you know, you can be on all these major networks, but this is about education, information, also inspiration. So if you're wondering, sometimes you're feeling at a loss, you know, you need to check out what's happening at your community center. Get involved. That's the thing. And that's what I'm hearing you say. You're talking about the programs. Chris, that family stabilization program. Okay, you can't say enough about that.
Well, I can just tell you, I mean, it was something that a vision that the previous ED had. And we tell people, especially funders, what we're trying to do when it comes to family stabilization. And again, is to prevent families from becoming homeless, because it may be they need education, they may need Pampers, diapers, you name it. We have barrier buster dollars that are in our grants that help them. And what we have also found out that is education, right? They want to be educated, but they may not have the resources to do it. So the family stabilization program is now being a model in the San Francisco and surrounding areas. And I'm proud to be a part of it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. As you should be. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, you know, let's talk about some of the organizations. You mentioned some of them that come in and help with feeding the community. But let's talk about some of the organizations or businesses that Booker T. Washington Community Service Center actually partners with. All right. So you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
All right.
Testing. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy.
Because the fight isn't over yet.
You will see me choose to protect my community by wearing a face cover.
And even with my face covered,
you will see me.
as a son,
as a man with a never quit attitude,
as a fighter for change.
Join me in wearing a face cover
to help stop the spread of the coronavirus.
Because this is one small act of kindness
that has the power to make a big difference.
Hey, I want to thank you guys for hanging in here. You're tuned in to You Didn't Get the Memo with me, your host, Gloria Bailey Ray, and my awesome guest, Mr. Chris Shelton from the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center. Chris, before we jump back into the questions, I do want to tell you that we had a comment from a viewer, and actually two viewers, and they's awesome program, and they are appreciating the information. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate the feedback, because that is literally what it's about. It's educating the community. And we have people all around the country, in case you guys are wondering. Yes, we have folks all around the country that's tuned in to You Didn't Get the Memo, because again, we're providing you with relevant, factual, mainstream information to help you be informed and to make informed decisions. So before we went to break, I had asked my guest, Chris, when we come back, to talk about some of the organizations or businesses that the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center actually has partnerships with. So Chris, can you expound on that a little bit for us?
Thank you for asking. I mean,
okay.
What role does Booker T. Washington play in the community? Right.
Right.
Let me tell you, being one of the largest Black-led organizations here in San Francisco, we have to pick and choose. But what I can tell you is that we partner with several Black-led organizations and around the city. And I'll just give you a couple of them that you may know if you're in San Francisco. One is San Francisco Black-led Organization Committee. I actually serve on that committee. Mega Black is another one. San Francisco Black Academy is another one. It's Leadership Academy. Mo Magic has been a staple forever. Collective Impact, USSF, USF, DCYF, which is the Department of Children and Services, the Mayor's Office of Housing and Development, also DOS, which is Department of Aging Services, and Department of Public Health, which is where we got the grant for COVID. But not only are these are city people that are trying to make change to politics within the mayor's office. And so we at Booker T, since we are one of the largest Black-led organizations, we are always at the table. Always. And so there's a lot of times that we can't due to capacity or bandwidth, but for the most part, we're there at the seat. But when you think about other partners, when I said we did our 100th year gala, which was just amazing. I mean, think about it. Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi kicks it off for us, right? Danny Glover was there, just really started it. Both mayors were there as well, because they've both been through Booker T as teenagers, so they know the rich history that we have here at Booker T. But as far as the Warrior Foundation, we partner with them. We partner with Kaiser, Wells Fargo, Bank of Marin, and the list goes on and on. If I didn't, Redwood City Credit Union, right? We're partnering with them because of an educational thing. It's called a literacy workshop program, Money Moves workshop. Financial literacy is huge, especially in the Black community, not only just for adults, but we're starting as young as second grade, teaching them how to count, how to subtract, and maybe one day, balance a checkbook. So our partners are very, very strong here in the Bay Area. But I can tell you, if there's anything that goes on, Booker T has a seat at the table.
Yeah, and you know what they say, you definitely, in order to affect change, you need to have a seat at the table. And when you got a seat at the table, it definitely makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah. So thank you, Chris, for that. But let me just ask you this.
Okay.
What does Booker T. Washington Community Service Center do to engage and to keep the students focused on getting educated? Because there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on, and they are dealing with, like you said, I'm almost homeless. I'm right here. I'm trying to work. I'm trying to take care of my family. So how are you able or your organization able to actually keep these students focused and really help them to see that, you know what, the key is education, because when you got it, you know what, they can't take that away from you. So can you speak a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I think it's a great point that you bring up, but it's easier said than done. You know,
Right.
I mean, these young kids have attention deficit where you don't know what's going on. Right? But I mean, one of our strategic platforms, Gloria, here at Booker T, and it has remained constant, is around STEAM and art, right? So any of the vendors who come here are really geared toward either an art focus or a STEAM focus. And you ask the question of, you know, how do we continue to have them get engaged? Well, when they say it takes a village, it takes a village. So I have a director of programming that makes sure that he's in contact with the teacher. He's in contact with the parents, right? Single or together. It's almost like a collaborative approach to the student. Let them know that we care about them, right? I'm big on outcomes. So if you're into my program, we set a baseline. And then that baseline from a reading perspective. Well, Gloria comes into Booker T and she's reading at a second grade level. Well, what is Booker T doing to make sure that we are enhancing her skill set? Well, we also have, if you don't know, right up the hill is USF. We've partnered with USF. And they bring 16 volunteers down to help us tutor and volunteer for our kids. I ask you guys to come and volunteer too, please do. But I think when you have that kind of approach and, you know, you're talking to the teacher, you're talking to the parents, and then you come to our after school program and you're still getting tutored, you know, we're trying to nurture, right? It's one of our things.
Right.
It takes a whole village to make that happen. And again, if I said it was easy, it's not the case. But you can see the light bulbs go off in the kid's face when you're showing that you care.
Right. And look, let me just say this. Well, let's underscore this. The fact that your organization and people from, when you say USF, University of San Francisco, y'all, for those of y'all who are on the other side of the country, let me just tell you, University of San Francisco, you know, it's a huge institution, but the fact that it is so critical, and what's that old saying? People don't care what you know until they know that you care. And that's what Booker T. Washington Community Service Center, that's what you guys are doing. You're showing them, we're following up with your teachers, you know, your classes, those kinds of things. And that is so critical. And I don't care if you talk to any child, any adult, they're going to say, when I felt the most productive and that people cared about me is when, even though I may not have liked it.
Right.
But you know what? And I know, and probably for you too, growing up in Indiana, look, our teachers, and it's a different world now, and with a bigger classroom. But I'm just here to tell you the fact that the teachers, look, I didn't want nobody calling my mama. I wasn't going to skip class. I wasn't going to do those things. But what it showed me is that there were people that cared. The teachers cared, and they were involved. The chicken and the egg. It's which one are you? You know. So
I tell my staff every day, and it's something that somebody gave me a long time ago, and I still believe it, right? It's like you touch the heart of somebody, right? The mind will follow. Right. Same thing with kids. Let them know that you care. And when you have to tell them something, they'll be easily to accept it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? We have a question from one of our viewers. They wanted to know, what are the ages of the participants for your program?
That's a great question. And 8 from K through 8. That's one. That's our small program. And then we have our teens. Right, our teens are from 13 to 17, and then our TAE is from 18 to 24, and then we also have our senior program, which is 55 and up.
Right, and would you just again, tell our viewers what TAE is? TAY.
Yeah, that is transitional aged youth, and these are participants that are transitioning out of foster care.
Right. And you know what? When I visited the facility, that was the thing that impressed me so much. I mean, it was so much I was overwhelmed. I need to like go back again because it's such a huge facility. But the fact that I think that people not recognizing that when you are, aging out of foster care,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know where you're supposed to go, what you're
Yes.
supposed to do,
Yes.
all of that. And for Booker T. Washington Community Service Center to cover that, embrace that.
Yes.
That said, that alone for any of y'all watching the show is the reason why you need to be Cash App and sending a check to Booker T. Washington. And not to sound like a broken record, but I just realized that the impact that your organization has in the community, and the same for other communities around the country.
Yeah.
It is just so critical that we get behind these programs and that we support these programs. So, but the building is beautiful.
Yeah, let me share you a success story. I mean, because this was last week, to where we have someone come and say, hey, Booker T has been so good to me. She was a transitional aged youth, right? Mm-hmm. And she had been with Booker T for 3 years. So we're providing these wraparound services. And again, we're not just going to kick anyone out, right? She came to us and said, I know that there's others like me, right? I've made it now. So I want to give up my apartment, right? And it was it was one of those days where it's like, wow, somebody that said, hey, I want somebody else to have the opportunity that I had. And that was very heartfelt.
Oh my gosh. And talk about what a blessing. I mean, because that's when you say, God, I know I'm put here and what I've been doing is working. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. And just in case, let me just ask this as a side note. Do people need to, I'm certain that they probably do need to make an appointment to tour the facility. So is that correct?
Yes,
but they're able to tour the facility.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially now within COVID, and now things are starting to open up. Please, give us a call, and we'd love to take you to the facility. And matter of fact, I even have it in place to where maybe a transitional age youth will give you a tour of the facility.
Oh, wow. That would be awesome. Just to be able to see where they live. That's the other thing. I mean.
And let me tell you, Gloria, when I say stainless steel and granite,
right.
That's at this building. So they're living nice.
that's their apartments, right? So
nice.
Absolutely. So
really nice.
I'm thank you, Chris. I'm glad to hear you talk about that. But you know what, on the flip side, we're talking about all the great things that Booker T. Washington Community Service Center is doing in the city of San Francisco. But let me just ask you, what are some of the challenges that Booker T. Washington Community Service Center also faces?
Yeah, I mean, another great question. I mean, COVID has crippled a lot of people, right? And so I think one of the things too is that if you have the opportunity to look at our facility, we have rental spaces here at Booker T. So if you want to do a wedding or a birthday party, bar mitzvah, you name it, it's here. We have a gym, and we've actually suffered during COVID to where we've lost over $300,000 just because we haven't had an opportunity to rent our facility. We have also lost several funds for our summer school. Summer is big for us, and we weren't able to have tuition this year. Also, after school programming, that's where we make a lot of our money. Almost 50% of our annual budget comes from what I just told you that we've lost. So yeah, we're struggling a little bit. Could we need help? Absolutely. But I know that there are foundations, corporations, individual givers like maybe yourself that want to help us out. And that's how we're surviving. But we're also in transition We have a new executive director coming in here shortly. I've been running the ship here since June, and we have an interim director that was a former board member. Her name is Shelley Bradford Bell, who is, man, she's a breath of fresh air, has been in the nonprofit space for 25 years, which is, again, not my forte. I'm here to raise money in operations, but she's definitely come in and really given us a boost. So everyone has struggles, and we're just trying to get our infrastructure right again so we can continue to not miss a beat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Chris. Look, we're going to take another quick short break. But when we come back, one of the things that I'd like for you to address or talk about are what are some of the long-term goals for Booker T. Washington Community Service Center. And again, even though, you know, if we can put it, you know, I guess categorize it from, you know, the top 1 through 5, what are the resources that are really, really needed if we can do that? So guys, don't you go away. Thank you so much for your comments about the show. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Chris, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Okay.
Because of you, I feel not alone in this world. And you let me know that it only takes one person to make you feel wanted.
If doctors, nurses, and grocery store clerks can wear a mask for 10 or 12-hour shifts, you can wear a mask for an hour or less when you go to the store. Do your part. Mask up, America.
Hey, I want to thank you guys for hanging in here with us. For those of you that are just tuning in, you're tuned in to You Didn't Get the Memo with my awesome guest, Mr. Chris Shelton, who is the Director of Operations and Fund Development for the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center. Before we went to break, Chris, I posed kind of 2 questions in one to you. One was to talk about what are the long-term goals for the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center, and also to kind of like to encapsulate it all, you know, 1 through 5, your top 1 through 5, if you have it.
I can go 5.
Oh, 5. Well, if you got 10. What are those resources that the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center actually needs, please?
Absolutely. And again, thank you again for the opportunity, Gloria. Well, for one is we need an infrastructure in place, an infrastructure. And when I say that is that, you know, I've been in the organization for 2 years. And if you think about a strategic plan, which a lot of big organizations have, the last one that we had was in 2016. So that's what we're actually working on right now, is a strategic plan that takes us to the next 100 years. But as a lot of Black-led organizations and nonprofits alike don't have the infrastructure in place. And when I say infrastructure, we get a lot of our money through grants, right? And I am by no means a grant writer. We're looking to have a grant writer, someone to have an HR system in place, somewhere where we can push a button and would be able to match our mission and our values with other foundations and corporations so that it would make it easier for us to apply for grants. Grants is huge. I said we operate on about a $1.4 million budget, but 50% of that budget comes from the city. So our strategic plan, long-term goal is to not really have to rely on the city as much, but have the funds available to do whatever we want to do with those funds, right? So building an infrastructure, we have the pieces together. We have hired a person right now that is looking to do our strategic plan that will move us into the next century, that will keep us up to 100 years. The other question that you had for me, I hope that answered your question. The other one is resources that is needed. I kind of touched on it. There are several grants that are out right now. Mayor Breed has done a great job of saying, okay, well, let's take some of this money from the police. I know that's a big political thing, but let's put it in the Black community. defunding the police. But what does that look like, right? For us, especially a big Black-led organization. Well, sometimes we don't have the capacity because these RFPs come out, requests for funding come out, and they'll come out within a week. And we have to hurry up, turn around, and get these done. Well, we don't have the infrastructure. So that's what we're trying to work on now, to where when the RFPs come, we're able to get it out right away. It's aligned with everything that needs to go out, and we receive that funding. Because, having grants that are not restricted allows us to have more flexibility to do whatever we want to. And I would be remiss if I didn't say we want to make sure that we're graduating kids. We have a foundation, a sponsorship, academic foundation for $30,000. I'm trying to raise $30,000, but within the next year, I want to have to where I can present a check to $30,000 for one of our students that have been here at Booker T for quite some time. So we need a new van. These are little other things, Gloria, but we need a new van.
Bring it. Come on. You got the platform. Talk about it.
But I hope that answered your question, because right now I think that we are really looking to do a very thorough strategic plan moving in that'll take us to another 100 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I said, look, I always say, when somebody gives you the opportunity to put it out there, put it out there. Somebody watching the show today, for all we know, they may say, hey, look, I got a brand new van. I want to donate a brand new van, or I want to donate that $30,000. And of course, you and I both will be jumping up and down. You say, come on, bring it, right? Absolutely. And that's what's really, really important. And I think that it is so key. It's so critical, which is, again, why I really wanted to have you on this show to talk about the community centers, the impact that a community service center has in the community, and people not realizing all of the things that what Booker T. Washington Community Service Center is doing, has done, will continue to do. And that's the piece right there. So yeah, absolutely. It answered my question. Look, my thing is, did you think of anything else, right?
Well, just for us, Gloria, if you think about right now, right, especially in the midst of everything that's going on, Black Lives Matter and everything else.
Yes,
I've been in corporate for 25 years. You've been in corporate America. And when I'm seeing things that come across my desk every 15 minutes about, we want to give back for equity, right?
Yes.
What's it look like to a corporation?
Right.
Social justice. What's that look like to a corporation? So now I'm having conversations at the table with the Salesforce and the Googles and the Twitters, and saying, how can you help Booker T? How can you help our young kids from an equity standpoint? You want to talk about it? Let's be about it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm working on now. And they have money, right? So I'm trying to see how they want to partner with Booker T so we can make that happen.
Right. And it's time out for the lip service. Lip service, that's all it is lip service. I always say, put your money where your mouth is, and really do something. If you really want to see, kids succeed in STEM, then you've got to put the money into the programs or the organizations that's actually training these children or these young adults and helping them. Because at the end of the day, I always say, you know what, I'm not looking for a handout. I'm just looking for a hand up, lift a person up, right? And that's the reality of it. So I am 250% on board with you. Okay, so look, we get excited. I love it. I love the energy, right? But I'm going to pause for the cause, and when we come back, I'm just going to ask you this question. What is it that you want viewers to take away from today's discussion? So I'm going to allow you a moment to think about that, and you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Thank you for watching the You Didn't Get the Memo show with your inspirational host, Gloria Bailey Ray. It's your contributions that make this happen. To become a sponsor, send an email to youdidn'tgetthememo@gmail. That's the letter U, didn't get the memo. If you're not in a space to be a sponsor, but you like what you hear, we simply ask that you support what you like by making a contribution to the show. There are 3 ways to make an online donation. Visit paypal.me/Gloria Bailey Ray or Cash App or Venmo, Gloria Bailey Ray. Give what you can. Your support is appreciated.
All right, guys, if you're just tuning in, I'm just going to tell you, you're going to have to go back and watch the show, and it stays up on social media. But my guest, Mr. Christopher Shelton, is just an awesome man who has the energy of about 200 folks, because I don't know where he gets it all from. And I actually get tired, and I know I'm high energy, right? But he has been just awesome, gracing us, talking about the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center. And so before we took this last break, Chris, I asked you if you would just share with our audience, what do you want viewers to take away from today's show?
I'm going to make it simple. I mean, Booker T. Washington is here for the community. We are community led. We want Booker T. Washington to create strong partnerships with individuals like you, right? With corporations and foundations, clubs, my Kappa boys out there, to engage in community service. We need it right now. Our community needs it right now. And I'll just end that, our tagline is serious when we say, here at Booker T, we want to nourish, we want to inspire, and we want to empower the next generation. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Well, look, I want to say to all of you, first of all, I want to thank my guest, Mr. Chris Shelton from the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center, for being on the show today. We appreciate him giving his time to enlighten us about the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center and the services that it provides in the community, which is so needed. I want you to be sure and tune in next week as we honor and celebrate. This month is Autism Awareness. And my guest, Ms. Tawana Wilson, is author of the Chronicles of Blue, Me and You and 22Q. And y'all, I'm just going to tell you, get your Kleenex ready. I want you guys to tune in, and we're going to delve into how autism, in this particular case, affects families and affects her family. Remember to support our efforts by sponsorship opportunities or making a donation of any amount. Be sure to like and follow me on all of my social media platforms. I'm on all of them. I want you to lock into your calendar every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, come on, you guys can do that. You can give up 55 minutes of your day once a week. And so I'm just going to ask you that. As I always say, if you didn't take anything away from today's show, then it's actually you who didn't get the memo. Until this time next week, I'm going to ask that you stay safe, be kind, pay good things forward, and remember this, the quality of your life is determined by the decisions that you make. Peace and blessing, y'all. I'm Gloria Bailey Ray, your host. I'm out.